The script that we built so far is actually very useful because it can be used to execute any system command on any system. So if your target is Unix based like Linux and OS X, then you'll be able to run any Unix based command, and these commands allow you to pretty much gain full control over the system. If your target is Windows, then you can run any Windows command. Plus, you have all the PowerShell commands that you can run on Windows 10 and Windows 8, which basically, again, allow you to gain full control over the system. In this lecture, I want to take this one step further, and we're going to extend this script so that it first of all executes a command and then send us the result of that command on our email. So in many cases, we're not interested into executing the command itself, but we're interested in the result that this command returns. Let me show you an example. So first of all, I'm just going to go to my Windows machine right here. So if we just type netsh lan show profile, this will list all the Wi-Fi networks that this computer has connected to. So you can see that this computer connected to 2 Wi-Fi networks previously. It doesn't have to be connected to them right now. As you can see, I'm not connected to Wi-Fi, but previously it was connected to these 2 networks at some stage. Now we can also list all of the information about a specific network by putting the network name after or at the end of the command. So if I just paste this here and hit enter, you'll see I'll get all of the information about this network. And if I run the exact same command again and add key equals clear, which means I want you to show me the key in clear text, you'll see I'll even see the Wi-Fi password for this network, which is this one right here. So this is an example of a command that we're interested in its result. So when this command is executed on the system, it doesn't really do anything useful to us unless we can see the result. And this is where the execute and report scripts are useful. So basically, the script that I want to build should be able to first of all execute this command and then send all of this result to my email so that I can read it and see the Wi-Fi password. Again, this is just an example of one command that returns useful results, but you can extend this to any scenario. You can even run standalone programs that, for example, steal passwords and then email you the passwords. So let's see how we can do that. So first of all, it's importing subprocess, and I'm also going to import another library that allows me to send emails from my Python code, and the name of this library is smtplib. Then I'm going to write a function called sendMail that will allow me to send emails from my Python code. So I'm going to start by saying def sendMail. And this function is going to take 3 arguments. First of all, the email address. Second is the password. And third is the message. So it's the content of the message that we want to send. Now, the first thing that we need to do is create an instance of an SMTP server, and we're going to use the SMTP library to do that. So I'm going to say server is equal to smtplib.smtp. So this is going to create an SMTP server instance for me. When I create this object, I need to give the server that I want to use, and we're going to use Google's SMTP server because Google allow people to use their own server to send emails, and the address for their server is smtp.gmail.com. And the second argument in here is going to be the port, and Google runs their server on port 587. So I'm using this port and I'm using this server because this is Google's server and this is the port that Google run their server on. And this full line right here will create an instance of an SMTP server. It's going to store that in my server variable so that I can use this in order to send my email. The next thing that I'm going to need to do is initiate a TLS connection using the server that I just created. So I'm just going to do server start TLS. Next, we're going to need to log in to our email so that we can send emails. So this is similar to when you go to gmail.com and log in using username and password. So we're going to say server.login, and we're going to log in with the email and password that will be passed to this function. So we're going to log in with email and password. And finally, we're going to send our email by saying server.sendMail. And the way this function works is the first argument is the from, the second argument is the to, and the third argument is the content of the email. So we're going to send this email from our own email. So this is going to be email. So it's the email variable that we get in here. We're going to send this to our email as well because we don't want to send this to another person. And the content of the message is going to be the message that, again, we got as an input to this function. Now, once we're done with using the SMTP server, we're going to have to close it by doing server.quit. So now we have a generic function called sendMail that we can use to send an email with a specific message. Now, the nice thing about this is that we can use this function into any other code that we might need in order to send an email. We might want to just send an email to a person. We might want to send a report from our own computer, or we can use it for evil stuff like the way that we're going to use it right now. So basically, the way that this function works is it takes an email, it takes a password and a message. It starts by creating a server variable that is an instance of an SMTP server using the SMTP library. And when you create this object, you have to specify the server that you want to use. And we're using Google's SMT server. And we're specifying the port that Google server works on. We're initiating a TLS connection here. We log in using our username and password. We send the email from our email to our email, and we send the message variable that's passed to this function, and then we quit the server. So now in our code in here, first of all, we need to change this command, and we're going to set this to the command that we want to execute on the system. And looking at this in here, this is going to be this command. So it's going to be netsh lan show profile. And then we're going to put the network name that we want to get its password. So in my case, it's UPC 723.762. And we're going to say we want to see the key in plain text. So we spoke about this command and we've seen exactly how it works. Then we're using subprocess to run this command. But instead of using popen, I'm going to use check output. So this is a function in subprocess that executes a command and return its result. And we actually had a detailed look on it before in this course. So the result that will be returned is going to be the result that we see in here on the command prompt. So I'm going to capture that in a variable called result. And then I'm going to use my sendMail function to send an email from my own email, which is johnwick70@gmail.com. I'm going to set the password, which is abc123 abc12. And then the content of this message is going to be the result of the command. And we're done. So basically, I'm going to minimize this because we don't need to worry about how sendMail works. We wrote that in a function and then we forget about it as usual. And basically what we're doing right now is we're setting a command that will return a result that contains the Wi-Fi password. We're capturing this result using a result variable because that captures what subprocess.checkoutput returns. And then we're going to send an email to johnwick70@gmail.com with this password, and we're given the result of the command as the message body that will be sent in the email. Perfect. Now I'm gonna copy this and put it in my web root and then download it in the Windows machine. I showed you how to do that, so I'm gonna cut this part of the video. Okay, so I have that here in my downloads directory and I'm gonna run it in here. First of all, I'm gonna clear the screen. And then I'm gonna run it from here as usual by first of all specifying the location of the interpreter, followed by the location of my file, which is execute and report. I'm gonna hit enter. This will run. Once it's run, it will just not print anything, but it should have sent me an email now to my Gmail account. Now, one more thing that I actually forgot to mention, for this to work, you need to enable less secure apps to use your Gmail account. I'm gonna include the link in the resources for this, so that you can just click it and enable it on your account. And now if I look at my Gmail account and refresh this, you'll see that I got a new message. And if I look at this message, it was sent 0 minutes ago. And as you can see now, if we go down, we have all of the information about the Wi-Fi network. Plus we have the key or the password for this network in here.